Welcome to Radicards TV on Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Reno, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Jared Kavlie. He's president and founder of Pristine Auction. You can catch Jared on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, both his personal profile page and his business page, and his website at pristineauction.com. All links below, so definitely check him out, check their auction house out. It's really great stuff. Jared, thanks for taking this time to sit down with me. I really appreciate the opportunity. You know, I always ask this, did you hear about Radicards prior to my reaching out and prior to us working together? And if so, how did you find out about us?
Yeah, I think actually, I want to say it was a year or two ago at the national convention. I always take the time when I get back to the hotel each night to kind of look through the, YouTube feeds and Twitter and just kind of check out the, what's going on, what people are posting for the national, because it's a fun time of year for all of us. And I think I caught a few of your videos, and the funny part was I think you were hauling around one of our balloons and kind of using that as a way for people to see you and know that you were looking for, I think it was Frank Thomas cards that you were looking for. And then I think shortly after that you had reached out, and based off that I kind of already had known who you were back then. So I think we spoke back then for some purpose, and then now recently obviously you had reached out for this purpose, and so yeah, I had heard of you. So
great to hear it. Yeah, I that balloon was handy in the 2015 show, and actually it was useful. One person actually saw it and was able to say, hey, we've got a Thomas card from the redemption packs that Beckett was doing, and I was able to get that card from that interaction. I thought that was great. And who knows, maybe I'll do it again in a future national convention. So kind of entertaining. I like that. Thank you for remembering that. What got you into the sports memorabilia industry, Jared?
Yeah, so when I was younger, maybe 10 years old, I really started getting into sports cards as a hobby. And that was back in, the glory 80s and 90s of sports card collecting, when things were pretty mass produced. So, I spent a lot on that and got kind of frustrated at the lack of return that I was seeing, but still enjoyed it. I really did enjoy collecting cards. So it was a fun hobby. And then being here in Phoenix, Arizona, we got spring training here. So I started back in like junior high school. I'd ride my bike up to the stadiums and see that guys were signing. And so I started getting the cards signed, and then that transitioned into getting memorabilia signed. And so I did that for a hobby for a lot of years. And then that developed into selling some extras, and then, getting into the business side of things. So
awesome. That's excellent. I started around that same time that you did collecting, and I remember when the market was booming in the mid-90s, and it was a lot of card shows and ballrooms and hotels and things, and I really missed that time in the hobby when that was taking place, and it's really hard to garner the marquee value that we once had in the hobby during that time in today's market. Granted, we have the national and other shows to bring people together, but it's just kind of a different time than it was, and I think the onset of online marketing has changed the whole landscape of how cards and memorabilia are distributed to the audience, which is a good thing because it allows for wider market exposure of anything you sell online. So for auction houses and websites and e-stores and e-commerce, anything, that platform has completely changed. I can really appreciate that, though. So I see you started Pristine Auction in early 2009. Can you talk about how you started the company?
Yeah, I think maybe we have it wrong on the site. I think it was 2007.
Okay.
And we started, as I kind of mentioned, I did it as a hobby for a lot of years, got into selling some extras on eBay, and then I actually started working with some of the other auction houses also, and just kind of learning that side of the business. And, I've always been a little entrepreneurial. I went to school for business, and always trying to come up with an idea. And, just one day with the wife in the car, I just said, hey, why don't we just, start our own auction and do the things that we like about others, put them all together into our own auction house and kind of do it our way. And then I really think pretty quickly we found our niche in the industry, where I believe we're really the one auction house that caters to every collector. And on top of that, we have something going on all the time. And those were things that I, as a collector, wanted. And so I wanted to kind of bring that to the market and see how it reacted. And it has gone well. It's grown pretty quick.
Yeah, I see you guys consistently have auctions, like almost every week it seems like there's something happening. It's really nice to go on there and see that there's a routine basis of running auctions there. And I notice you do extended bidding as well. That seems to be pretty common in the auction house category.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the same idea. I believe every auction house, other than of course like an eBay, which is a little different format, but as far as I know, every auction house has an extended bidding period. For new bidders, it can sometimes get a little bit confusing or a little bit frustrating, but it really is a level playing field. And I personally, as a bidder myself in some other auctions, I prefer that format. There's some different options. Ours is every clock is independent, and the extended bidding period is 10 minutes. Some auctions kind of have some policies where any bid in the auction is going to extend the entire auction. That's something that we went away from because I don't prefer that format. It ends up taking all night. But our entire auction is typically over within 20 to 30 minutes of the actual end time. So
I can appreciate that, certainly. Now, you can sign a lot of this stuff, obviously, right? How do you go about procuring consigners for your business?
Well, a lot of that has just been over the years kind of developing those relationships, and national is really one of the big ways we've done that, kind of meeting a lot of these consigners in person and letting them know who we are. As a new auction house, it was much more difficult. Our name really wasn't well known. And so we really kind of dove in. I think our first national has really been the one show we do every year. At some point, we'd like to kind of start the circuit and do some others. But being on the other side of the country, a lot of the shows are East Coast, so it's a little more difficult. Most consignments, a lot of consigners have come to us, but early on we were really proactive. And, one way I did it is as a collector, I had bought from a lot of dealers. And so as we launched the auction house, I used those contacts just to let them know what we were doing and see if we could do business with our own auction house. And that took some time because for good reason, you've really got to prove a platform before they're going to be willing to jump on board and trust your process. So.
Absolutely.
It took some time, but slowly but surely, some of those guys started hopping on board.
How long was that lead time from initial implementation to brand reputation?
It's a good question. I think probably we had an easier time than most just because I was in the business as a collector and buying and selling as it is. So it isn't like we started at ground zero. So we have some consigners that have been with us now really from the beginning that probably hopped on board within the first few months, and they stuck with us. So, and really those are the ones that we've developed the best relationship with, me personally, just because, you always kind of enjoy those first few guys that really kind of took the leap with you and really made it happen. Because without them, with our business model being primarily consignments, I could with my own collection, I was able to run a few auctions. But at that point, you really got to have some guys buy into the consignment process in order to keep the business model working.
Gotcha. Sure.
So I'd say probably at this point, probably 90% plus of our auction is all on consignment. So it's most of the stuff you see is consigned.
Gotcha. Do you collect sports cards or memorabilia of any kind? And if so, what do you like?
Yeah, I collect autographed memorabilia mostly. I have some things. In fact, I guess you can see a couple on the wall behind me.
Yeah.
I'm a Kobe and a Nash jersey.
Yeah.
Personally, a big fan of Nash, have been for a long time. And those are just some that I've gotten personally back when I used to get autographs. So some of that stuff I've kept, not a whole lot of it. And then as I've seen some stuff come through, you get a little desensitized to it as you see so much nice stuff come through. But every once in a while, there's a piece that I love and just try to buy directly from some guys. So. And then just recently, I've kind of realized I just need to start getting guys that I personally like, regardless of value. So, like David Johnson, I'm a big David Johnson fan, and we've had the honor of working with him here in the office a couple times. So, got a couple pieces from him hanging up at home, and had to get the Jordan's Wings poster. That one's been one that I've grown up always wanted. So I got that one signed and inscribed through Upper Deck, and so there's a few pieces. I mean, I don't have a huge collection, and I don't have any real iconic pieces. Maybe one day I'll try to go for that, but right now it's pretty stuff you typically see, nothing super spectacular.
Do you ever find do you ever experience any cognitive dissonance with your business in the form of there's always that you can't collect what you sell kind of thing? Do you ever have that problem from time to time, like, oh, I wish that I had money to own this because this is something I would like, but I have to sell it because it's a consigned piece?
Yeah, I mean, Well, yeah, that definitely happens with consignments a little bit. But it even happens because I do some buying on my own. And so I'll buy some pieces kind of with the intention of maybe keeping it, maybe selling it. And I always have that little struggle, that emotional struggle with, do I really want to let this thing go once it gets here and I like it even more than I expected, you know? So that definitely happens. Absolutely.
Yeah. I can remember having an experience like that when I was running a card shop at a time in my past. And stuff would come in and we'd buy it. And like, man, if I had the cash, you know, I'd put down for these really gem mint examples of 64 Topps Pete Rose cards, but I just didn't have the funds at the time. And vintage has slowly taken an increase over the years, consistently appreciating, I've noticed. And that's just one of those things where it's easy to sell knowing your return's going to be high, but it's hard to sell knowing it's something you actually want. And that's like, you have to control that focus, you know. So I completely understand that, absolutely. Jared, tell me, in your experience, what have been one or two major challenges in your business you've had to face either on a routine or isolated basis?
Oh, some challenges. Well, you know, with how much volume we do, we have a pretty big team. We're up to about 60 employees, which is different than a lot of the other auction houses with different models that they have.
Sure.
So, you know, turnover it can be, as we grow, that becomes more and more of a challenge. And we can't, because of what we do, we don't just grab somebody and immediately plug them in. Although we've got some processes in place that help with that a little bit. But, you know, staffing is always a challenge, especially because in a business like ours, you know, ours does stay fairly steady, but there's those peaks and valleys as far as how much stuff's coming in the back door on consignment. You know, we have somewhat limited control on what stuff comes in. So being able to, you know, around Christmas ramp up a little bit and make sure we maintain the right staff to get everything done definitely can become a challenge.
Absolutely. So staffing's a big piece of it.
Definitely, yeah. With the model we have, it absolutely is, yeah.
What are some characteristics of people that you look for when you're looking to put somebody on board? What obviously they have to know the category, right? But what are there any specific characteristics of those people that the qualities that you look for to get them to feel comfortable and to build that rapport with them?
Yeah, I think the biggest things we look for now, and it's kind of evolved from what we thought we wanted at first. You know, it's something you kind of grow as a company and kind of learn. But you know, at first we kind of gave let's say, for example, we're hiring for the listing team because that's a little more of a specialized position. We would put people through kind of a challenge of recognizing signatures and understanding sports, and we realized as we hired some of those people that wasn't really what we were looking for. What we really needed is somebody who was really attention to detail and was willing to learn, and had a good attitude. I mean, really, so attention to detail and a good attitude are really the biggest things that we found allow us to plug the people in and them really excel here. So that really actually trumps the knowledge as far, and with our business model, it may not be for all of them, but because ours is a lot of, you know, listing some repetitive stuff. Everything that we see has typically been listed before, so it's really just knowing how to use your resources and having a good attitude about it and being willing to learn more than anything.
Now, is everybody on staff, are they all local, or do you have guys that are, you know, outside of the state and they live in, you know, somewhere else in the United States?
Yeah, the only guy who isn't, we have a few guys on our IT team, and one of them has moved to Colorado, but he's still able to do a really effective job with us. You know, we constantly do some online Google chats and Hangouts, and so communication hasn't been an issue. You know, he's done a really good job, as good a job as he did when he was here in town. So our other positions at this point, yeah, everyone's here. We have a facility here in Phoenix, and everyone's in-house, so.
Knowing the climate in Phoenix, what are some challenges to ensure that the climate is not impacting any of the items being sold?
Yeah, I think one thing that's a positive with that goes is we really don't have a lot of humidity. So, you know, we do have a warehouse that is under a swamp cooler, but we've never had quality control issues. It's something that we have watched, and we do package things carefully, especially if it's like a paint pen signature on a helmet. Mm-hmm. We put some non-stick paper over it before we put the plastic on it. That way, if there is a little moisture from the swamp coolers, it's not going to stick to the plastic. So we take some extra steps like that just to ensure quality. But yeah, I mean, it's hot here, but not too hot in our warehouse that it's gonna, things are gonna light on fire or anything like that. So, right. Yeah.
That's always something I consider in my location is humidity and how to dehumidify rooms and location. And it's just kind of a little side study for me to figure out how best to preserve collectibles in a way. Good stuff. So tell me, if you were to give advice to someone just starting a business within the industry, auction house or something else, what would it be?
Just from a business perspective, I've always kind of gone off on the philosophy of avoiding debt at all costs. So at this point in this business, my wife and I own it all. And that may change someday, but we don't really have any plans of that changing in the near future. And we have no debt for the company, other than we are building a building. It's actually literally starting to break ground tomorrow. And inevitably you're going to carry some debt with that. But that's good debt. I'm more talking about the, jumping into a business and kind of getting big eyes and taking a huge loan to do some advertising and just expecting it to work. I just really think, when we started this business, it's always about kind of grinding and getting as much free advertising as you can, doing Craigslist posts if you have to, or anything you can do for free. Just avoid like the plague jumping into any kind of debt, because it could ruin the business, especially early on.
That's good advice. And building the equity in location that you're breaking ground tomorrow, that's going to help you drive a good return down the line should you expand even further, right? So that's a really good advice, is staying in the black, essentially, is what you're saying, as much as you can. And the SEO piece, take advantage of everything you can do to market your business without forking over a dime before you get into the SEM piece. Those are, I think, really important pieces to understand ahead of time. There's so much grassroots and guerrilla marketing you can do ahead of time and not spend any money. It takes a lot of legwork, but it's certainly something that can build traction over the course of time and allow you to be found quicker online if you have all those legs in the ground. But it takes like to your point, it does take work to get that going out of the gate. And some people, I feel like, and you might have come across this too, is that when we start a business, we automatically assume we need investment capital. It's like kind of a common blunder that we have business now, we need to go and find investors. But sometimes you don't need investors. You just need to figure out what you can do on your own to get the business off the ground. And it might be as little as a small investment out of your own pocket of like $100, and so that's really good advice. Good stuff. Can you share some things you're working on presently? And we talked about one, the building, and what we may see from you on the horizon.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to, maybe we have some good stuff in the works, and I don't know if I want to give it all away quite yet. We definitely will. We had some plans on maybe launching a couple things at National, but we'll see. A lot of that stuff kind of depends on IT, and our IT guys go 100 miles an hour, but sometimes it's never fast enough for an entrepreneur, the building is a big one. We're going to essentially double our space. We're going to put ourselves in a good position as a business financially, and I think it's really going to help us serve our customers better. We have just recently, I guess this is new, but it did launch, and some of our consigners are well aware of it, but maybe not all. But we actually kind of have a revolutionary warehouse management system now, which from the moment a consigner's package gets here, they can track it through our process the entire way, even before it's listed. So, there was demand for that because, consigners want to know where their stuff is, rightfully so. And it's kind of hard for us, sitting at the desk to say, oh, it's at this part of the process.
Sure.
So the demand was there for a while. So we worked with our IT guys, and we now scan everything as it goes through the process. And so you see it every step of the way until it gets listed. So, and then, of course, it's visible then as well. So I'm not aware of any other auction house that has a service like that. They may, but I'm not aware of it. So it's something that we kind of worked hard with our team here internally to give to our consigners.
That's really nice. So that's an RFID system then, right?
A what?
RFID, radio frequency identification. So you're scanning things in as they go into process.
Right.
And was that an idea that you had thought about previously, or was that something that you were investigating as you were getting requests from your consigners to say, hey, I just want to check in to see where my item is if it's not listed yet? I mean, were you collecting data prior to the implementation?
Yeah, I mean, there was always a demand for a service like that, but, usually it feels kind of like a pipe dream until you kind of bring it to your IT guys and say, hey, in a perfect world, this is what it would look like. And then you start breaking it down and say, okay, is this realistic? Can we put this on the list? When can we get to it? I mean, there's definitely a whole process that goes into it that may, behind the scenes that not everybody sees. But yeah, it was something that we knew. And, when you implement something, not only are you better serving your customers with that, and it's not easy by any means. It's expensive and it's time consuming. But once you get there, you save so much time and energy, and you give your consigners something so valuable that helps you better serve them as well. So it's well worth the journey, but it is, it is a lot of work. So, and we have some other things like that in the works.
Jared, when you think about your career in the industry, what are one or two significant events that made an impact on you both personally and professionally?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if I really do. I mean, there definitely have been some big leaps along the way that have really worked. I mean, some focuses we've done on the marketing side that have really paid dividends and worked well for us. That I think we're stronger at than our competitors. And honestly, I think one is, for me personally, I really do talk about the national a lot. I mean, and that's coming up, so it's kind of fun, but I mean, it's just quite an experience. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some people listening that have never been, and you talked about the local card shows, and that was my only experience with shows as well. I'd go to all the local card shows all the time and had a lot of fun, but it was like this little room. It still felt big. You get to the national, it's just unbelievable how big it is. I mean, you can hardly see it all. So, and going there, I think that opened my eyes a little bit. The first time when we went, we were not well known by any means. We were kind of stuck back in the corner that year. But that did a lot for me personally, to just understand how big this industry really is and what can really come of it. And, I kind of dove into the business because it was a hobby. It was what I would love to do. And, just considered a blessing that it's really allowed me to do something that I love really for a living. So really can't beat that.
Yeah, the National is a really important event. I mean, the National experience mimics the amount of fun I've had in the hotel ballroom shows in the 90s, and when I go to this large event, it's as a buyer, and I talk about with his friends, that there's not enough time to see every single booth in the 5 days that you're there. Well, really, it's like 4.5. So, but as a seller, and if you're a collector as well, it might be difficult to be able to go shop and sell at the same time. I'm not sure how you've managed that from, at least mentally, I would struggle. Like, do I go and shop or do I go and sell? I think the National is one of those things where 5 days seems like enough time, but usually it's like the fastest 5 days on the planet when you're there. That's been in my experience. It's been so much fun for me. But yeah, if you're listening, if you're watching this your first time, and you've never been to the National, take it from Jared and myself that the National is one of the most fun times that I think you might have as a collector. It's a great place to go meet people and network and just enjoy a great time around cards and memorabilia. So good stuff. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me. I really appreciate it. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
No, well, speaking of National itself, if anyone is going, definitely come see us. This year we'll be set up in corporate. And so every year we've given away T-shirts. It's kind of like the one I'm wearing. Very comfortable. People love them. We love giving away. We literally give away thousands. Balloons like you had gotten the one year. So definitely come by and see us. This year, actually, we will have an exclusive T-shirt. That's a 2017 National T-shirt. They've agreed to allow us to kind of use a logo and make it a national exclusive, so it'll be a little more fun. Something that'll only be given away at this year's National. It's always fun to see. Over the years, it's amazing how many people come back wearing our T-shirt. It's a lot of fun to see them from 2, 3, 4 years ago. They'll come back and be wearing the same T-shirt. So we'll be, as we have in the past, we'll be giving away a bunch of memorabilia every day. Raffle tickets. So just we aren't there set up selling anything. We don't typically display anything. We're just there to meet people and meet our consigners, meet our buyers, and kind of give some freebies away. So we've got little stress balls with our logo on it. We got balloons. We got the T-shirts. So make sure to stop by and say hi. We love to meet everybody at National.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much, Jared. And for those of you watching, Jared's on Facebook, Twitter. He's got a LinkedIn page for his personal profile, and there's also a business page. And then definitely check out pristineauction.com. All links below. Jared, thanks so much for sitting down with me, buddy. I really appreciate this. It's been a great time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching another episode of Radicards TV on Radicards.com. Thank you, Jared Kavlie, for sitting down with me for this interview. And until next time, enjoy collecting. If you like this video, please subscribe. Enjoy collecting. Thank you.